Hey guys, good afternoon. Continue to look at some of the questions that you guys are having on the review. Love to hear from you guys, and love to answer your questions and make sure we're ready for that test. So this is number 5, and again, it's asked to. I believe you're asked to find all of the zeros of this function. Okay, so we want to find when this thing is equal to 0. And again, I see a 4th degree function. I know there's 4 zeros out there. Again, some of them might be imaginary, some of them might be double roots, but I know I'm looking for 4 answers here. All right. So again, before I graph it, I just want to get a look at my P over Q list, see if there's any rational roots out there. So P are all my factors of negative 20. So that's positive and negative 1, positive negative 2, 4, 5, 10, and 20. Now the good news is Q, all right, factors of Q, well, Q is 1, so only positive, negative 1. So again, my P over Q list is just going to be the same as my P list, all right? So I don't have to worry about making a second list. So again, I know if this thing has any rational roots, it's going to be in this list right here, all right? So let's get a graph of this thing. So I have gone ahead and graphed this. X to the 4th minus 4x cubed minus x squared plus 20x. And just make sure I got the rest of that correct. All right, whoops, that should be our plus 20x. Let's look here, minus 20. All right, yep. So again, I'm just going to hit zoom, and then I'm going to hit number 6 for standard, get it in that standard window there. Okay, so there's what it looks like. Okay, so it looks like, only a couple real zeros here. I've got that there, which might be negative 2, and that's in my list. And then I've got this here, which might be positive 2. And again, that's in my list. All right. So let's check. Well, first let's check that negative 2. So if I go to second trace or calculate, and I want to calculate the value of this thing at negative 2. And again, make sure you use the white negative button here, not the subtraction button. So when x is negative 2, no, this thing is negative 16. All right, so that's not one of my zeros. Let's check positive 2 out here. So again, I go to second trace, and I want to calculate number 1. I want to calculate the value when this thing is 2, and when it's 2, I do get that as one of my zeros. All right, so that tells me right now we can do synthetic division. All right, so again, I'm going to do synthetic division of this thing by 2. So I get 1, negative 4, negative 1, 20, and negative 20, and let's divide that by 2. And so I add and then multiply, add and then multiply, add and then multiply, and then add and then multiply. So I do get a 0 there, okay, which is a good thing. But now here's the problem. That only gets it down to a cubic, all right? And we're not, real good at solving cubics. We don't have anything to solve a cubic. And as I look at this, I don't see any other potential zeros here, and these nothing that's in my list. Well, let's check. Remember, we talked about there is possibilities that this is a double root. All right, so let's see if 2 will go into it again. All right, so I add and then multiply, add and then multiply, add and then multiply, and that ends up giving me 0 again. So 2. Remember I said at the beginning, 2, so even though there's 4 roots here, some of them might be double roots. 2 is actually what we call a double root. And now if we start off with an x to the 4th, and I got an x cubed, now this is an x squared. So this is x squared plus 0x. I really don't need to write it. I get x squared minus 5 equals 0. Now again, you could go to the quadratic formula with this. A is 1, b is 0, c is negative 5. But since there's no x term, it's just easier to get x by itself. So I'm going to do the opposite and do it to each side. So I get x squared equals 5. And then I want to square root both sides. And remember, when you square root both sides, that's when you get that positive and negative. And so there are my 4 roots. All right, 2, which is a double root, so it counts as 2. And positive, the square root of 5, and negative, or the opposite of the square root of 5. All right, so I went a little bit tricky with that double root, but again, kind of the giveaway here was as I looked at the graph, negative 2 didn't work, but positive 2 did, and since I have to get it down to a quadratic, it doesn't hurt to try that positive 2 again and check and see if it might be a double root. All right, so there's your answers for number 5: a double root of 2, and then positive radical 5 and negative radical 5. All right, let me know if you guys have any other questions, and again, hope to see you at the Google Meet tomorrow morning. Take care.